All right, what's going on, everyone? This is Ola coming to you live from my myEmpirePRO studios. I have a long time, is it long time or long term? Long term friend here. We're just talking just behind the scene how English is truly my fifth language. So, yeah, I have Bunmi Asaolu here. We're gonna dive into a conversation here. This is a friend of mine going as far back as safely 10th grade, but truthfully 12th grade. I think we became a little bit closer in the 12th grade. In Nigerian language, you call that SS1, which is 10th grade, and it will be SS3, which means Senior Secondary School 1, Senior Secondary School 3, which is the last year in high school. For those of you that may be listening to me and you're in the United States, that would be we were 16 years old. We were not 18 years old, like most people here were in the last year in here in America. So we're pretty young, and my friend here just released a book called Surviving Sajomaco. You can see the picture of it right behind his head over there. And I was privileged to read the book ahead of everyone, which I am very grateful for. And it's I was a part of maybe half of the story he told in the book, because I actually joined that school in the 10th grade, and they were there in a boarding school for at least 3 years prior to that. And I experienced maybe a token of what he described in the book. But I could still relate quite a bit. But we're gonna tell some stories today, and it's gonna go into all kind of different angles. We're gonna talk about leaving Nigeria. We're gonna talk about the book itself. We're gonna talk about finance. We have to talk about finance, and we have to talk about marriage. So without any further ado, my friend Bunmi Asaolu.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're not new to this. I found out not too long ago that you're not exactly new to this. You've been on platforms like CNBC Africa. Do you know how big that is? And those videos are 10 years old too.
Yeah, they are.
So I'm sure a few of your friends came to you and said, hey, when they were starting to look up where what Bunmi has been up to, they probably stumbled into your LinkedIn page. And then on YouTube, they stumble into this CNBC Africa old videos, right? Yeah. It's crazy. I haven't realized until lately that 10 years is actually quite a long time. Like 10 years, this last 10 years especially, kind of disappeared. Because
it felt like it was compressed into like 2 years. Yeah, I agree.
Yes. So I have a few questions, okay? You left Nigeria. I think you were probably the only one that left Nigeria before me among our set.
Probably, yeah.
And that was what month was that in '96 that you left?
So I left in August '96. We finished school, I think June. I think the term actually should have finished in July, but because we were in the final year, we left in June. So within a few weeks, my parents decided, literally, I didn't know that we were going to leave Nigeria. But a few weeks later, they told us that we should get ready. And literally 2 weeks after they told us, we were out of the country.
Right.
To the UK.
Right. Because I remember you stopped by at my crib when you came to, I don't know what you came to do.
Oh yes, that's true. Yes,
you stopped by, I'm trying to think back, because you remember quite a lot, and that's what's going to be the most interesting part about all of this conversation, right? And I tried to remember. There are quite a few people that I got closer to, either in the last year, or the year right after, that we were not exactly close in school. Obviously our last year we were in the same what do you call that thing? That same angle, that same corner of Akinyele House. Okay. If you want to know what Akinyele House is, you have to cop the book. The book is going to be available everywhere on Amazon by August 28th. And by the way, I'm not releasing this video until August 28th, so you can go ahead and cop the book now. Right. So, you stop by. At that time, my best friend was Lilo.
Yeah.
So and rest in peace, Lilo. So we got extremely close. It was more so like, okay, one of our classmates, Lebile, right? I was the Lebile after school. I don't talk about that a lot when we're talking in the WhatsApp group, because I really don't want to take people's, because Lebile was probably there for 6 years, right? I think it was Lebile. I think Kazim Ojomo was also closer. Was Kazim in Vining?
Kazim was in Vining, yes. Vining house, one of the houses. Yeah.
Yes, and Arigbede also was very close to him. Arigbede never carried his book; he was just following him, if anything. If I remember. All right, so we're gonna talk about some of this stuff. So I was that one. The only difference is that he wasn't carrying books. We went together. I will pick him up. I started driving when I was 15 years old or so. I will pick him up. We'll go grab movies. He will rent we'll rent American movies. I will rent the Nigerian movies. As I told you earlier, fifth language is my English. I wasn't into the American stuff like that. I think the closest thing I got into American stuff is the songs that we sung when we were in school.
Interesting.
You didn't know that, huh? So you left Nigeria 96 August. I left Nigeria 98 May. So almost 2 years apart, right? Do you remember how you traced me, how you got my address? I mean, do you remember any of that? Because we didn't have a phone in my house. I know you probably had a phone in your house, because you were the buttered, like you said in the book, right?
Buttered project,
right? So, do you recall that at all? I want to start from there.
I think first of all, thanks for the opportunity actually to talk about this stuff, this book, the memories. So, I grew up in Ife on the campus, on the university campus, and OAU, as it was called and still called today, has a bunch of people who would have had very good exposure beyond Nigeria in general, even if they didn't fly out of the country, just by way of interacting with people who maybe came in for a project from everywhere. It doesn't matter. You generally had more exposure. It didn't necessarily mean that you were rich. In fact, they weren't rich. But it was just that exposure that sort of helped. But I think for me, going to Owo, which was 3 hours away from our house in Ife, give me more exposure, at least to the southwest corner of Nigeria, that I'd missed, having been sort of siloed and borderline imprisoned on campus in Ife for 10 years. But to trace the roots back to you and Owo, before we left, this wasn't unique. Many people had a notebook, or as they called them back then, jotter, that they tried to kind of create a diary / address book. And I had one, and till this very day, I still have it. How more of a black book was that book to you?
It was
it was a pretty straightforward, neutral book. So it was. I think what was odd about this book was you could see me draw an icon of an envelope, an icon of a phone.
Right.
Like you put
that
so
was
much.
Hilarious.
Yeah, just put so much into this thing to make it look legit. When you look at it today, it looks like a very flimsy. I mean, it still looked good, but you could tell that you just made do with what you had. But the inside did what you had to do. I had names, addresses, postal addresses, physical addresses, phone numbers if you had a phone. Obviously, there were no emails at the time. So I put down birthdays, right? All those things were in the book for as many people as I could collect. So by the time I was back in Ife, after we finished that, I had a lot of information with me. So even if you didn't write me, I could easily write you.
You could.
So,
right.
Yeah, but we knew where your family house was. Not far from school. So it was very easy to kind of drop by.